like certain games. Like I enjoy RTSs and MOBAs, but I know you don't. I enjoy them because they're so tactical and you can take your time and do whatever you want within the bounds of the game's logic. And sometimes you can break that logic and do horrible things to people and get in those games.
Yeah.
That's why I enjoy them, because I also enjoy RPGs that are really in depth. I enjoy like D&D on the most basic level with being able to do what I want and break it in my way. Same like Divinity and this and that. Because those games are really open to what you can do. It's limited by your creativity.
Yeah.
Right.
But you wouldn't find them fun because they're not the style of game you enjoy playing.
Yeah. Like with me and stuff, there are certain games I can acknowledge that are good, but just aren't my style. But again, like I said, the thing that kind of confused me is how much I got into Red Dead 1, but not so much like
And also the
GTA
characters,
5.
the intro is way more interesting. The characters are really fun
The
right
characters
away.
in Red Dead like 1 are great. Almost everybody you meet that's
It's
anything
unique and fun.
is like a stereotype, but like in the best way.
Yeah.
Like a crazy prospector, but like he has an interesting story behind him about how he got to this point and who he really is.
Right.
I'm a
It's-
snake oil salesman who's a goofball, but also kind of a con man on top of it.
Yeah,
Right.
and
That
things
one
like
trait
that.
of being the crazy wingnut, that's not just there's more to his character.
Well, no, for the most part.
No, they're all pretty one note in Red Dead Redemption 1. They're pretty
they're your
one note.
stereotypical Western people, but there was just something charming about it because everybody was
Because
like,
the
not
main
necessarily
character's so
everybody, but-
straight. The main character's so like straight laced about everything, and everyone else is so kooky around him. It kind of
Yeah.
it makes it work because you're playing the straight man in the game.
Also, for people just chiming in, we're just discussing like things in games that we enjoy, and we were talking about beforehand. We decided to start the podcast. It's quite late at night. We've had a long day of recording. Now we're just winding down, just talking about game design and like things that we enjoy in a game. Me and Sam are on the topic of like we don't really enjoy GTA games because we feel like they're kind of like there's not a lot to them. And Sam's main thing is that like there's a lot to them, but it just feels like there's a lot of fluff in between for me personally. And Sam's whole point is that getting from point A to point B is boring because the game forces you to do it in a specific way and you can't really deviate. And
GTAs are the Call of Duty of open world games.
Yeah.
Is basically what you're saying, is that they want you to get to that point, and they will usually do it one way, but you could possibly do it a different way.
Yeah.
But it won't necessarily make a difference. Like how in Black Ops 2, I believe, you can do a whole mission stealth, but there's never any reason to do it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. The alarms still get tripped. You still end up in the same spot. It's just, you know, you could do
They
it
give you the
stealthily.
variety just in case you want to do
Yeah,
it that
for-
way.
differently.
Variety, quote unquote.
But I mean, like, I don't know. I like when, like, I don't know what I like in games. That's something that's weird to say, but I genuinely don't know what
That's good
like,
though.
tickles my fancy.
I honestly think that's really good, because if you don't know what you like and you can't pin it down, that means everything is still open to you.
Right.
Because there are people who are like, I only like this, and then
Well,
they
here-
have everything pinned down to that.
Here's my thing. I think I am incredibly nostalgia blind for games because anything I played as a kid for the most part, like I noticed this happens a lot. I'm always like, oh, the last part of this game is not as good as the first part, but it is. It's just that I never could get to that last part, so I just always assumed it was poopy.
Okay.
Or
Right.
once I play it again, I'm like, oh, this is poopy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not what I remember. It feels different, but it only feels different because I never actually played that portion. Like a good example, I guess, would be like, say like Paper Mario. If I never could beat the game, I beat the game and I'm like, oh, this is kind of poopy towards the end because I never hit it as a kid. It's just like, I feel like I've noticed myself doing that and being like, well,
It's actually good. It just I never could do it.
well, yeah, but then
Consistency.
in my mind, I'm like, well, this is not something, like, I don't like the final part of this game. But then I realize, like, a lot of times when I think that, it's because I can never hit that part of this game as a child. So I'm like, am I
Right.
just really nostalgia blind? But I think of games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne and things where it's like newer games that I picked up when I was like 17, 18 and started playing and really enjoyed. And even games like more recent, like, what's a game? There's a game fairly recently I started playing that I really, really liked. I can't remember what it was. But it was definitely something where I went, this is good. I really, really loved this. But like, it was not something that was as a kid. So it's really weird with me. But I try to call myself out when I'm playing a game and I realize where I'm like, oh, this isn't good or something. When it's just because like I only played the first part of it as a kid and I have this nostalgia glasses for it. And I'm like, well, I need to judge everything fairly.
Yeah, it's like I think the end of GTA 5 is probably the best part of it. The beginning is always going to be slow in a GTA game, except 5 actually did a good job at the like literally the intro sequence is really good,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and then
it's a
it
good attention
cuts, and then
grabber.
it cuts to the mundane.
It gets you excited to see what's in the future already. You get to play the action pack stuff, and then you're like, all right, I want to get there now.
Yeah, but I think the ending is probably the best part, because once everything starts building up, your final thing you do in the game is three options, and you have to make your choice. And those choices are do blank, fuck all that. It's literally do blank, fuck that.
And
I'm gonna
just-
try my own way.
Right.
And that try my own way is the best ending.
I think
really?
for me, what I enjoyed
And everyone
most
chooses the
in
first two
game-
because they think the one character's gonna die.
Yeah, I think what I enjoyed most in the game,
Moist.
in the game,
Moist
is,
games.
I think number one, movement, and then number two, if it's a shooter or whatever or a fighter, if it's fun to shoot a gun. It feels meaty. It feels heavy. It has really good sound design. That grabs my attention, and then of course, obviously follows up the story, and then if you care about graphics that much, because like it just seems like now games are just focusing on like, let's look flashy. We'll second thought, tack on a story, and then call it a day.
See, I noticed myself thinking that too, but then I thought about it and I'm like, is that just the nostalgia goggles? I look back on games I like fondly because of the fact that I've learned to grow up with them, and I'm like, I don't want games like this, but the only reason is just because that's a game I've played before that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
So like a new concept comes out, I'm like, well, I don't like this. But it's like, but why?
Right.
I literally
That's something I'm trying to catch myself from doing.
if I see a game I like if I like it visually, I'll try it and see if I like it literally contextually, like playing it.
Yeah.
I don't really ever go, that game looks bad because I don't like that art style or this or that. I try and avoid that because there's a lot of art styles that are not necessarily in my vein that I look at, but then I go, this game is fantastic at what everything else it does. I
Yeah.
just don't like that art style. Like
And you can't really fault a game for that either because like just different art styles are gonna appeal
because
to
then
different people.
I gain an appreciation for that art style, but I don't like it. Because
Yeah.
there's a art
Yeah.
style called Cat Lady. There's a game called Cat Lady.
yeah.
It's a side scroller adventure game, which has some of the darkest fucking dialogue I've ever heard in a game with really, really dark undertones.
Mhm.
And it was, when I first saw it, it made me violently ill. I felt literally sick looking at it.
Yeah,
At the
just 'cause
style?
the art style.
Yes, it was.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty like. After a while, I was like, this art style really fits the tone of the game because it was so bleak. Like it was so bleak in a weird time in my life where everything was like I was trying to get out of like a slump.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, that's fucking so bad. That makes me physically sick. But as I watched more and more, I'm like, this game has a lot to say. Even though I don't enjoy the art style, it has so much to say behind it. And I think
Yeah.
that's more important to me than like, this game looks gross.
You're a bit more willing to go past the outer shell to push to see if there is good inside of it.
Yeah, I feel
Whereas,
like that's kind of, I'm not gonna say that's what you should do with every game because that's
Yeah.
not true. A
Yeah.
lot of games are literally just the like main portion, which is usually gameplay, which is great. But I feel like if a game doesn't catch your eye right away, you should still, it catches your eye for the wrong reasons. You should still try and give it a look. Because like same with Night in the Woods.
Yeah.
I didn't like that game visually at first. And as I watched more or like looked more into it,
yeah.
it became really charming because it's so, again, dark tones mixed with like a certain art style really help a game a lot.
Right.
Because again, Cat Lady is just it's basically black and white with some splotches of red and smoke.
See, and I think it's good to try to push to sometimes just be like, well, maybe it just didn't catch me in the first part and try again. But like also, I don't necessarily think it's a failure of game design at that point, but like I get why people would be like, if a game doesn't grab me right away, there's no reason I should have to push through the stuff
Yeah.
I don't enjoy to get to the stuff I do. I should be able to enjoy it from start to finish.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. But I understand when people do that. I just like, I think sometimes people are too quick to throw in the towel, but like I get it. It's your time. You're trying to do what's fun, and if something isn't grabbing you, like
then yeah.
then you might
Right.
not be grabbed.
Yeah, 'cause that's my biggest thing too. Is like I want them to come out the gate, fucking hit me over the head, be like, "Yo, fucking here you go, bam, go fucking nuts." Not, I mean, like I can do a few slow burners, like Assassin's Creed 1. That one's a fucking slow burner.
That one's a very long slow burner.
Like,
and I
it's-
played through it. It's
Right.
really like the first hour and a half of the
Yes.
game is nothing.
It's
When's
just,
the last time you played Assassin's Creed 1, Sam?
fuck, that's way too long. I don't even fucking remember.
See, and that kind of goes along with what I'm saying. Do you think maybe you are the same way as I, where you
No,
look back
well, I
on
mean-
things
well,
like
I mean-
fondly from your childhood?
Well, I just
Because
recently
like nowadays, it's like I feel like a lot of the games you like are things from your childhood. You're like, this game isn't very good, but I like Gears like this, but that's because it falls in the vein of your childhood game.
Well, no,
Yeah.
well, I mean, but granted, I've recently been playing Gears, and like what I was about to say was like I picked up Custom Robo again, and like I remember the beginning being like kind of slow and this and that, and then watching someone play it as they read through the dialogue box is like, oh, actually no, It's really not that slow. It's just my dumb fucking kid brain who can't get past these text boxes, like shit
Yeah.
like that. Like I get that. Like for Assassin's Creed, yeah, I
Assassin's
guess I
Creed
just haven't.
1 is bad.
But
in
you still
particular.
enjoyed
Chibi Robo.
Chibi Robo as a child, didn't
No,
you?
Custom Robo.
Custom Robo as a
Custom Robo,
child,
yeah.
right?
Oh fuck yeah, I did. That shit was dope.
But that's what I'm saying.
Shit
Maybe
blew
you're a
my
bit
mind
more.
away.
Maybe you're a bit more willing because as a child,
You
Well,
enjoyed
yeah, because it was
anyway.
like a child. I
Enjoyed it.
didn't have much to experience. Like, but now looking at that game, like that game is so fucking ahead of its time with the amount of customization that you could do,
but do you
all
see
the
what?
combos you can do and shit like that.
But do you see? Has there been any really new IPs that you really
That you
enjoyed
didn't
that
play when
same
a
way?
kid?
Yeah.
Or hasn't been continued.
Well, with Dying Light, that's one of them. State of Decay, that was one that was like that. Resident Evil 7,
Like
that was
fairly
a big
recently.
one. Fairly recently.
No, I'm saying those are kind of fairly recently from the sounds of it.
Yeah, they are.
Like within the last like 2 years.
2 years.
Resident Evil 7, yeah, came out
Yeah,
2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
and then RE2.
But the thing is, you enjoyed those types of games prior. You know?
No, not really. I didn't.
No.
No, like
You played Dead Rising, which is basically just a third-person version of Dying Light.
yeah, but well, I mean, but it's with Dead Rising. That's just like zombies are not necessarily a threat. Where in Dying Light they kind of are.
No, they're
Yeah.
not.
Yes, they
I
are.
In
played-
Dying Light early on, yes, and
Yes.
earlier
But as you
always
get
are,
as
for
you
the
get
most
further,
part.
they're not. Same with
Yeah, it
Dead
takes 'em.
Rising.
No, not really. In Dead
'Cause
Rising, you just
Dead
get 'em
Rising,
up and,
yeah. At first, you're just they're not as much of a
Dead
threat.
Rising, you don't realize how weak you really are in
Yeah.
the beginning until you
well,
replay
again, like
it.
against
It's
bosses,
crazy.
but like zombies and shit like that, they're
No,
not.
if
a
you get
fucking
hoarded
problem.
up by a bunch of zombies
Yeah.
early in
That-
Dead
what?
Rising, you get railed.
Yeah, I played fairly recently. I was a little shocked about how difficult it was
Like,
at first.
just straight
I mean, I
one or
wasn't
two?
dying, but I was getting close.
1 and 2, they're both pretty bad.
Yeah,
1 is
2.
especially
I don't know
bad.
about
Yeah, I know
one, but-
one would be, but like not for sure. Not
2
two.
is definitely, if you know combo weapons coming out the gate, you can have more of a chance to not take as much damage, but you don't realize how weak you are.
Yeah,
that
you
early.
really are very weak because you're slow. It's difficult to maneuver through crowds. You don't get the ability where
it's-
you won't get grabbed all the time if you just keep walking. Like
Right.
that's stuff you earn as you level up.
Yeah.
So you don't really realize that you have these skills until after you lose them all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also
Same. That's
you
why
could
I'm saying Dying
kill
Light's
them
very similar because it's like you start off pretty weak in
very
relative.
fucking weak.
You start off relatively weak because you still have the mobility. It's just not as fast as it will be.
Yeah, but the thing is, even like small packs of zombies can really fuck you up.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
later on
even-
you get better. But
Yeah,
like
even fucking
I
one.
think Dead Rising, if you know what you're doing, it's
It's
still
a lot.
easy.
Yeah.
Like early game, but like it's still more difficult than I think you like might remember. Because
No,
I was the
'cause
same
when
way
I first
too.
when I first picked it up, the only thing that I struggled the most at was the fucking Chef Antoine. That was the most I struggled at. Other than that, like zombies
That
weren't a
happens
fucking
quite far.
problem.
That happens like past day one. No, towards the end of day one.
Yeah.
That's still like a third almost of the game. That you that if you right? Am I?
No, it's
I
not
don't
a third.
remember. I
That-
don't
that is
remember.
most definitely
Chef
not a
Antoine.
third. That's like actually no, it's your second boss that you fight.
I thought it was your third.
It could be your third because you fight.
It depends on where you
Leon.
go because you can fight the tiger immediately.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You
But
have
fight-
to.
No, not immediately.
You don't have.
Hmm.
That's the
I
only
think you
time
can go
you can
until
spawn
day
in.
3 before it can spawn in, right?
No,
by itself?
it's the first day that
It's
you have to
for
go do it.
Tiger.
Yeah,
Okay. But yeah, you don't realize how weak you are in Dead Rising until you have to restart.
I mean,
Same,
yeah,
with, same
I have.
with Dying Light.
Well, Dying Light is more predominant, but like in Dead Rising, it's really not that predominant. Like skill wise, when it comes to like doing the tech rolls and then doing like yeah,
'Cause you
obviously
don't have those.
yeah,
straight
well,
up.
yeah, for dodging bosses. But when it comes to like regular Zeds, no, I don't think it's an
But
issue.
if you get grabbed enough times early, you should just die. I think it's like 4 grabs early.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not hard to
And
fucking kill the Zeds. It really
if you're
isn't.
constantly jumping, you know better. That's what.
Yeah,
When
but
you
if you
first
just
start
have a
out,
bag,
like,
you
I've
can
had
just swing
friends who have
away.
quit Dead Rising because it was too difficult to begin with.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I think like you had an idea of what you were getting into, or at the very least, you haven't like played it from the beginning in a while.
I played.
Maybe not. Maybe
my-
I'm wrong.
My
But
first one that I played was Case Zero. Yes, Case Zero. That was the first one I played.
Okay.
K0 is where
K0's
you're Chuck and you're in. Yeah, K0 is where you're Chuck and you're in the small town
Yes.
where
yeah,
there is
yeah.
where there isn't as many zombies. Actually, is it weird that that's where not many zombies are in that small town?
I mean, there's a decent amount. Like
it's
near the.
not as much as in the mall.
No,
at
yeah,
all.
obviously.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like that small town should be overrun, especially since how many people were traveling through and got caught.
Right.
Considering there's a pile up. But yeah,
right.
it's a little easier in K0 because you don't have as much going on right away.
Yeah.
And you start with skills.
Yes, you start with. I think. Yeah, you don't.
You start at level 5 and you have the skill where you don't get grabbed easy and you don't and you can shoulder zombies, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if getting grabbed easy is a skill. I know getting out of the grab.
I believe in Dead Rising off the record, there is a thing where you're a bit easier to maneuver through crowds. It might be an outfit. I think the ninja helps with that, but
it's
like,
an
yeah.
outfit.
No,
but
it's
I think
the
there is
jump.
also a skill that does that too.
I don't think there was ever a skill.
I
There's
think your
skills-
speed helps with that though.
Yeah, I would imagine. But other than that, I really no. Like I think like right off the gate, like Dying Light is like.
I think Dying Light is harder.
Harder
I think
overall,
I think Dead Rising
overall,
2.
but they still have a very similar structure is what I was getting
I
at.
would say even the beginning game, like Dead Rising 2 and Dying Light, you're way weaker than you are in Dead Rising 2. Dead Rising 2, you stand a bit more of a chance, but it is easy to get overwhelmed if you don't know what you're doing or you get too cocky.
Yeah, because
Whereas in Dying Light 2, you can be a bit more skilled and still be in trouble.
Because yeah, like level 10 in Dead Rising 2, you get like pretty much all the skills you use over and over. Versus like level 10 in Dying Light where you get like maybe a chunk of your stuff, depending if you know where to go right away with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't get to choose your skills, and you don't get to choose your skills because you get them through leveling up versus where you can like rush a skill you really use often.
Right.
Because that's kind of the big difference there. Because if you know ahead of time, you could just be like, oh yeah, I need this skill early because this makes this really easy.
Yeah.
Versus I can't get that skill until level 13.
Right.
But yeah, like overall, those games have a very similar path where you're weaker, significantly weaker in the beginning, and then you just ramp up aggressively. Until the enemies that are regularly occurring become pretty much
I would say
insignificant.
Though, for Dead Rising, it would be not necessarily weaker, but I guess it's your skill, like
You're physically
skills.
weaker because you don't have as much health.
Yeah, you're not as fast, so it's actually like if you run across the Palisades, the Royal Flush. If you run from the Royal Flush to the casino that's near the car, you can really just leave someone in the dust if you're level 3. And they can get grabbed a lot easier. Because I remember I'd play with a friend who had just played it when I was level 50, and I'd be there, and then they'd be
level 50.
But I'm saying then you have your speed maxed out. That's what I'm saying. Is like by that point you're a lot. But like early on, he kept getting grabbed, and I was able to run through. He kept getting grabbed. He just is like, what is happening? I'm keep getting grabbed. I'm like, I never thought about it. I'm like, why does he keep getting grabbed? But it's because his speed was lower, because his skills were worse, and because of the fact that you can't just run through hordes like you can normally. Like you have to really fight through, especially if you don't know what combo weapons are yet. So early game is a bit different. It's a bit more difficult, especially for a new player, and even reoccurring players. They know to make like combo weapons like the laser sword and things like that. But even then, like the skills alone help you not get grabbed.
Yeah, there's
along with like actual skill.
Yeah, because you literally are physically weaker when you're level 1 versus level like 4.
Because you do less damage and things like that.
Yeah, and then you have less health. Whereas like again in Dying Light, you can rush like health if you need it right away, or rush like movement.
I would still say Dying Light overall is a more difficult.
It's a more
game,
difficult
though.
start definitely because there's not as much you can do.
And plus,
early.
with Dying Light, you can up the difficulty to get more loot and things like that, which helps, which then allows the difficulty ceiling to be raised.
Yeah,
that's I think the game overall it's harder.
Overall I think Dying Light is harder, but near about halfway through the game, you hit a point where zombies are not the issue. It's traveling at night and the special ones.
I would.
And that's
agree
what I'm
with
saying.
that.
Where like you both those games have the same trajectory. Where you start off weak and zombies are a problem for a little bit. Then as soon as you hit about maybe a third through the game, zombies are way less of a problem, and it's more the special affected or the time of day. Or like or the humans or something.
Because even towards the end, like Rice's guys, if you like don't pay attention, they can kind of F you up. Especially like when you're playing on like the hardest difficulty, they can just kill you like in 2 shots.
Yeah.
Because there was that whole event based around the guys in tuxedos that were wandering around the old town. Yeah. If you kill them, you could get their suit and get like a special weapon, and they would kill you in like 2 shots and then they're gone.
Oh yeah, that's fucking
crazy.
annoying.
Especially in not to interrupt you, but in Dead Rising, you can enable the hardcore mode, but you have to beat the game once, if I remember correctly, in order to unlock it.
You always have to beat it once.
So that's something you can do.
I actually don't remember there being a hardcore mode, which is weird. I totally believe that sounds like something that would be in there.
It's definitely in 1. I don't know if it's in. It is in 2.
Is it in 2?
If I remember correctly, it's in 2 because it was there. The 7-day survivor achievement was in 1 and 2.
No, I don't think there's a mode like that goes past 7 days. Like in no, there's one
overtime.
And 2. There's not 1 and 2 because I remember I know what you're talking about.
7-day survivor's only in 1. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
'cause
remember because I know 7 Day Survivors in one because it was
Oh yeah, that's
one of the
right.
hardest achievements to get in the
Right,
game.
right.
Yeah.
Because you have to go 7 in-game days. You have to keep eating and drinking and
Yep.
getting
Right,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I remember the
It, well,
completionist
yeah, it
talked
wasn't in
about that.
2 because 2 introduced Off the Record, which made it just a free play mode pretty much.
Off the Record gets my thumbs up as the best Dead Rising game.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's just Dead Rising 2 but better. It's literally just Dead Rising 2 but better.
Super short.
It's Dead Rising
2.
2.
It-
It's just as long as Dead Rising 2. The missions are
Off the
almost.
it is not as
don't
long
they-
as
don't
Are
they
you
Dead
thinking
Rising
of Case
2.
West or Case Zero? I'm talking about the one where literally it's
Oh,
Dead
the
Rising.
spin-off. Okay,
Yes,
the alternate.
because I could tell you were
okay.
thinking Case West or Case
Yes.
Zero.
I was like, what?
Case
the
West
fuck?
is so short.
Case
Yeah.
West is incredibly short,
Yeah, I was
but it
like,
also
I'm like,
wasn't
what
a
the fuck?
full-length game. No, I'm talking about Case
Yeah,
Zero,
yeah,
where
but-
it's like literally a retelling of Dead Rising 2.
Yeah,
But
if it
as
was
if Frank was,
And
yeah.
it's literally just a straight upgrade from 2. Because from 2, getting the survivors is a bit easier. They actually give you like voice lines for the girl, so when she calls you, it's just not text.
Yeah.
And like, which is a little bit annoying, but it's all right. And like Frank being there, you get the camera system back. You have sandbox mode, which if you're struggling in the main game, you can go to sandbox mode, level up a bit, go back to the main game. Your level stays. It's really cool.
And then the Zombrex is not for Katie, it's for you.
Yeah, which makes
yeah.
that whole aspect of the game of having to go back to the safe house so often a little lessened because now all you're doing is for survivors
Yeah.
and missions.
It's just it's a more fun version of 2 where it takes all the tedium out.
It's just you miss the story, which kind of sucks. But I mean, like if you've played 2 and say you played 2 on Xbox 360 when it first came out and you're thinking about getting back into Dead Rising, I would definitely recommend just picking up Case West and just not playing 2 again.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Unless you want the
I
story
disagree.
straight up. Why?
Well,
It's
for
just
story,
literally less. That's what I'm saying. If it's like if you already know the story, there's like
He's saying if you've already beaten 2.
if you've already been 2 and you know the story, unless you want to relive the story, there's no reason to play it. It's just a lesser version of Case West. Literally, it's just a lesser version of it.
I kind of like Chuck a little bit more.
Well, if you like the character, I guess. But even then, I'm saying gameplay wise, 2
Like-
is just definitive.
Like what? The camera?
It's extra story stuff. You get extra moves. And yeah, the camera adds an extra aspect of it because you can run around and find secrets by doing that. Plus, you don't have to do the tedium of going back to the safe house for Katie. And you get sandbox mode and extra challenge stuff. Like, you just get a lot more with it.
I get what you're saying completely, where it's just a better version of 2 with all the tedium cut out.
Again,
Plus
the
more
only
fun.
downside is that you lose Chuck, but if you play co-op, you get Chuck back.
Right, but you don't get Chuck's story.
But that's exactly what I'm saying is that if you like know the story and you don't like, unless you want to relive the story, playing Dead Rising 2 again, like you might as well play Case West because it just has more to it. It has a whole new area.
Yeah, but
And
the stories,
everything.
it's all non-canon.
That's
the other thing.
am I?
Case West is completely non-canon because
That's literally what I'm saying right now, Sam. I'm saying if you ignore the story and you literally,
yeah, obviously what you're saying, but you were going on story and I was
No,
Judge
you
Judy.
were.
No, he literally-
I
you
said
literally-
multiple
times,
times.
it's not
excluding
No, I
the
know,
story.
but you were just saying something about the story.
He said yes, excluding the story.
No,
He literally said that over and over. And he
All right,
said,
continue.
if you don't care about story because you've already lived it once, Case West is just a better pickup.
because the gameplay is better. You get
Yes,
more out of it
yes.
and get more areas. I never once said and the story is better. Not once.
Yeah, because like I get what you're saying, where it again, it cuts out the tedium of a game that's already really fun.
Yeah.
Because again, I like Katie and I think she's super interesting as a character because it makes the main character a lot more humble.
Yeah.
Because if you took out Katie and it was just him, I feel like he would be a lot more chauvinistic.
Yeah, he's just a biker dude.
But that's part of what I'm saying is like if you cut out the story, and even then the retelling is interesting. It's not canon, but it's interesting. But I'm saying like if you already know the canon of the story, and like you don't necessarily like you're like I want to play this game for the gameplay of it. I know the story already. I don't really see a reason to pick up 2
Yeah, unless it's a bundle deal.
unless it's a bundle deal. But I'm like you just get more out of Case West, excluding story or off the record. I mean. Excluding story, then like that. If you already know the story, I don't see a reason to, because all you're doing is just seeing the story, unless that's what you want.
Yeah.
But in terms of gameplay and extras, I believe they even added extra like psychopaths and added a bit more like
And
stuff to
they
them.
changed the psychopath to be Chuck, which makes him way more interesting.
Yeah, that character was just kind of like, oh, it was a dude you played against in off the record. Now Chuck is the guy, which makes it way more interesting.
because it makes his story a lot more sad.
Yeah.
Because it's completely offhand. Because Frank doesn't fucking know. He's just like,
Yeah.
who the fuck are you?
And it's not even like necessarily a beat for beat retelling. It's pretty similar, but towards the end, it starts deviating very heavily.
Yeah.
Where like the story is basically the bad guy is completely 100% different.
Yeah.
So like if you wanted the like full lore and canon of something and you already know Dead Rising 2 and like the lore and stuff, there's not a whole lot of reason to unless you want to relive the story specifically, there's not a whole lot of reason to play 2. Because off the record you just get more.
Okay.
Because off the record you can do sandbox mode, which gives you challenges and stuff too on top of that. So you go through, you find a star that's like kill 50 zombies in less than a minute using a specific item. And that's what you have to do. And you get more of that stuff. And then plus again, if you get stuck in the main story, you can go to sandbox and do that stuff. Plus with sandbox mode, Zombrex is no longer an issue, which means you can just fuck around. You kind of allotted a fuck around aspect of it where you don't have to worry about the story and there's not a time limit. You don't have to keep resetting. You just play through sandbox and it just kind of loops in on itself. And that's fun to just sometimes go in and screw around. You know, and plus then you don't have to do with survivors. In sandbox mode, you just kill survivors and take their money. It's a lot more fun, but that doesn't affect the story of 2. That's just a completely off thing where the only things that transfer over are your money and your level.
I think the worst Dead Rising game is significantly worse than any other game.
4?
4 is hog shit terrible.
I've never played it, but I own it.
It's literally, it ruins Frank as a character and makes everyone unlikable.
Like, he's like he's angsty and shit like that. Like, oh dude, we go play fucking putt-putt.
Which again,
I love putt-putt.
Fucking
again,
play video golf?
Changing a character,
they change him so hard.
But changing a character is never bad. Entirely.
Unless it doesn't make sense.
And that's why it's so bad in this case, because it literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
He was always a smartass, but he never was preppy.
Yeah.
He was an asshole, but he had good intentions behind it.
Because he had been to wars.
Yeah.
He's been to wars, you know.
Yeah.
They use that line in that game and it feels so out of place because he doesn't act like it. He acts like he grew up in a suburbia and killing zombies was his pastime.
Yeah.
Versus it being what he had to do. Because it's totally the Ken and Frank until the fucking DLC.
Oh god.
Which again was fucking awful that you put the end of the game behind a DLC wall.
Yeah, that was BS, and I knew about that.
So fucking
how do you
when I first beat the game too, the game bugged out, so there was no audio during the final cutscene.
That's a common bug too. It was really weird because it's this moment of
it's like super serious, and also there's like, oh wait, no one's talking. I'm like, oh, they're going for some like artistic thing, and all of a sudden his lips start moving. I was like, oh wait,
nope, it's just broken.
Oh,
that game was
pissed
a
me
mess.
off.
I think Cropcat made the best video on it. It's
yes.
Dead Rising 4 was literally made in a year.
Yeah, I've actually seen that video.
It's a good video. From inception to literally on the shelves, a year, and it's such a funny video to watch because you're like, it totally was.
Do you think it killed the Dead Rising series?
Oh yes, yeah, without a doubt it did.
Unless Dead Rising 5 pops up out of nowhere or just reboots again, there's no way because they can't continue off of that. Fans are so against it now.
They could like continue off of Chuck because they left Chuck up in the air in 3.
I like 3. I'm not gonna lie.
3's an okay game.
I really like 3.
3's super fucking easy though.
It is.
3's very
but I like
okay.
the more casual nature of it and being able to do everything. I like that a lot. I like the fact that you're able to get to every survivor and things like that, which is something that was like almost impossible to do in the earlier games, I'd say.
If you knew what you were doing,
if you were literally new to go,
your first playthrough was damn near impossible to do.
Yeah, you'd have to get lucky. I feel
but
like.
I mean, I would like a little more challenge, like some stuff is
just
on
handing
time
it to you,
right? Instead of like, okay, this guy's not gonna go away.
I really like 3. I just wish that they would have done. They fucked up the psychopaths.
Oh,
in
really
yes,
bad.
Yes, they did.
Or they fucked it up worse. Because they don't exist anymore.
In 4,
except for
they're completely
except for
gone.
they're just called the groups of enemies, and they just named them a psychopathic group.
They named them
That's
what the fuck did they name them? Because like it was like, oh, they're not psychopaths, they're crazies
or something.
Manics. I think it might be Manics.
It's definitely Manics because it's literally you meet the first psychopath and you're like, oh, this guy looks kind of cool, and then you see it again and again and again because it's a group of people,
all they
and it's like
fucking had
what?
to do was give them an intro cutscene and then give them a fucking grody ass death scene. That's it.
Or even just a gimmick. Like it didn't even need to have a death scene. Just give them a gimmick
Just give them
them
something
were
that makes them
boring.
unique, essentially.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this one's a knight, this one's a fucking Santa Claus, this one's a scarecrow. Like they had something there, but like it just didn't.
But
like
it was still a normal character.
It was
There
still
no
a
yeah,
group of
yeah,
characters
how they fought
rather
was
than,
very
like,
normal.
a dude.
yeah,
versus like was it Bozo and one who fought unique, had a unique
yeah,
cutscene,
exactly.
and was actually unique in every way.
And Clappy, I believe was his name from the second one.
Slappy.
Slappy was sick. Slappy was really interesting to fight and things like that, and he had an interesting story. Same thing with the guy with the BDSM dude from 2, not the
Yep.
guy from 3. 2.
Too, yeah.
Yep.
Because and again, 4, they're literally just like, here's a group of enemies. That's
Yeah,
it.
they're here.
And they serve no purpose other than just to be another enemy type, a human enemy type.
It's so bad.
It was so terrible. 4 really killed the series, genuinely. And it made Frank such an unlikable character by trying to make him something he never was.
I think
Yeah.
the only fun mode that came out of 4 was like a Capcom like costume game.
Where yeah.
Where you could disguise Frank as like all the fucking Capcom characters.
And then he gets partial amount of their powers.
Yeah, like it was fun, but it was it's behind a fucking paywall.
Yeah, that's really lame.
That's where it fucking killed it.
The
But
fucking fact that the game's ending was behind a paywall
the
was
true
the worst thing ever.
the wrapping it up. It's behind a
'Cause-
fucking paywall.
Because again, the game, if it ended there, I would have given it so much more credit. Because they tried to make Frank like a more relatable, literally the most definition term of a company thinking someone is relatable character.
Yeah.
I think that would have taken a lot more balls if they just went with what they did. Because they stuck with it. I would have been like, you know what?
At
I
least
like
you could say
that.
they stuck with the decision, but
I
they
liked
didn't.
that. But then the DLC that was the actual ending where they just said, nope, we can't do that, was so fucking back down 100%.
Yeah.
That made me go literally like, I don't respect you for this.
And people found out by looking at the file size of the DLC. It's like it's actually in the base game. You're just
Yep.
buying the key. And
Yep.
It's like, are you?
So it was there the whole
Really?
time.
Yep, it was there the whole time.
Yeah, it was.
That's crappy.
It's fucking
It was literally-
horrible.
It was literally like in the base game, it was what, 60 gigabytes? And they
Yep.
found out it was 10 of the 60.
Yep.
So it wasn't even that much. It was literally like the DLC that is the last part of the game is the equivalent of go to area,
Yep.
go to area, fight this enemy, go to area, you're done.
And then
And then you make a choice, and that's it at the end.
yeah.
Nice.
And,
And then
the choice is terrible.
and then
either way.
along the way you can do like little mini games to get upgrades.
I should play it on my own. I'm curious because I don't
It's
know anything about it. And
really
I'm really
bad.
It's
curious.
fucking.
You
dog
might find
shit.
it fun, but it's just like,
Weapons
Frank-
are fun.
Because again, I found 3 to be really, really enjoyable.
and
they-
3 was still good.
But
It's not
also, wait, I
great.
just remembered they completely changed how the weapons work.
Yeah, it's 3.
No, it's not 3. It's completely new.
It's you get a throwable item.
Yes, you get a throwable, you get a
you get
swinging,
heal,
and then
and that's it. And then you get a weapon.
like you can't throw any melee weapons.
Nope.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, you can't do
Oh, you mean there's an item class for things that you can throw, an item class for things that you have to swing, and you can't
Right,
like
and you
throw. You know,
you
or
can't
you can't
mix
swing
and
there's
match.
only
throwables, you
3
can't throw
slots for
swingables.
it.
right.
There's only 3 slots.
That's really lame.
It's literally like you have a throwable, you have a melee weapon, and then you have one special item.
Well, also
Nice.
you get you can your inventory goes up higher, so then you can hold up a bunch of like random throwables and a random oh yeah, and the shooting. Yeah, that's right. There's yeah, you get melee throwable shoot and then healing items.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, why'd
And
you do it like this?
They mainlined the system that didn't need to be mainlined.
It
That's
didn't need
really
to be
shitty.
touched
Fun?
at all.
Weirdly enough, the fun of like those style of games where you can have a big inventory is managing it. As much as people will say managing an inventory isn't fun, when you get it down to a science, you're like, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Same with like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Rising 2, where you have a wheel of weapons that you
Yeah.
can choose from, and then
Yep.
go, I want this weapon. There, I have it. I know where it is. I can always get to it.
Yeah.
The healing items are always here. In Resident Evil 4, I have an inventory with all my ammo in the upper left, all my healing items in the upper right,
Being
my
able to
weapons down,
organize is nice.
and then knowing exactly where it is when you go into it. Versus that, where it's just like you have a weapon, it has a stamina, it's gone,
yeah.
and then you don't have anything to back up to it.
Well, no, you can because you can stack how many weapons.
But I'm
are in it.
saying that's not as much of an item management as it
Yeah,
is. You
it's just
have
like-
stacks of the same thing.
Right.
Because sometimes you have to make a decision if you wanted a weapon more in Dead Rising like 2 and stuff like that, or if you wanted to stack more on health,
Health.
or if you even wanted to pick up some magazines
right.
to earn some bonus experience, and you have to make trade-offs.
Exactly, where it's not, you actually have to manage an inventory versus just going, here's everything you'll need
Yeah.
in these 3 categories.
Right, and then they
3 or
fucking-
4 categories, and it's just like why?
Right.
Why did Dead Rising decide to start moving away from the psychopath idea?
I
I
'Cause
think
even at 3
it's,
you
I
saw
think it's
it.
literally because they only took a year to make,
and plus the
No,
new
even in
team.
3 they started moving away from it when they had 7.
but they still
Yeah, that's
had
true.
them, and they still had time to.
Well, I
develop
mean,
them.
also they
They
went for
weren't
a
good
theme.
either, though.
they
No,
weren't
they
good,
went for
but they were still there.
yeah, and they also went for a theme in 3. It's
Yeah,
the seven deadly sins.
sins, but I felt like it was stupid.
It was still
'Cause
still
The
weak.
thing is, the characters from the previous games were believable to be psychopaths. You could see exactly when they turned.
Yeah.
These ones are just unbelievable. Like, I must eat for
I am
no
gluttony.
reason. yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or
And
I'm gonna work out because you don't see where they snapped. It's just they're just caricatures.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
just there.
The only one that you know is Envy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally, the only one that you can see get to that point is Envy. He's the only like kind of interesting one. All the other ones are over the top caricatures. They're just stupid and not fun.
But that game also was going for like a more goofy vibe, you know? It had serious moments, but it started goofy with like your character just like, hey, look, a zombie. Smash it with a flashlight.
yeah,
Like instead of being like Chuck walking through the first area in where you're like, oh my God, people
Yeah.
are dying. I need to protect my daughter. I'm
oh
leaving.
yeah, that was a really good, especially in Off the Record. That's a really cool opening too, because you get to the area Katie's in and you just see the backpack and
Yep.
blood.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome.
Because those games take the zombie threat and make it real for a little before they let you get goofy. Where 3 was just like, oh, zombies.
To be
Get outta
fair, the
here.
first thing that happens is like the plane going down, then you run through it to get to the diner.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's still like immediately versus like the first about 30 minutes of Dead Rising 2 is you do your first thing, which is goofy, but then they make the zombies more of a threat than you'd ever think after seeing that.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh fuck, this is real. People are dying. I need to get out of here.
Mhm.
Versus the first 30 minutes of Dead Rising 3, you literally get one kind of serious moment and then literally just, hey, let's fuck around. Beat zombies with a flashlight.
well,
walk
that's
also
around.
fair
too, when you
too.
get to the dining room, they talk about the fucking one cop zombie, and people start freaking out.
Yeah, but then after that, as you start to play as the main character and you're literally walking through the tunnel
Yeah,
with
I
a
think
flashlight.
I think it's as soon as you get into the garage. That's when
I-
it gets goofy.
I loved what they did with what's her name? Zoe? The love interest of the game. I don't
Oh,
want to like
oh.
spoil anything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I loved that. I love that you learn like who
Yeah, it
she
was-
really is. That's fucking crazy.
It was
It's
a nice
awesome.
Little, it was a nice little like,
Because
oh,
you don't know how long it is really. I don't think you really ever realize how
No.
long it is
No,
after.
You don't. And it's really cool when she's like, yeah. And you're like, really?
Yeah, it's been that long, and then just to see like everybody again, it's so fucking crazy. It's
one-
awesome.
It's one of the best moments in 3. And that's why 3 still has that heart of the first two. Where it
It's a
has
little crazy towards the end, but every
and
Dead
that's
Rising kind of
kind of the fun of it. It's like starting
Yeah.
off a little serious, then it starts to get goofier and goofier and goofier, and then you hit the point where you've hit the ledge of it being serious and goofy, and then it just skyrockets past being more
Yeah.
goofy than serious.
yeah. Even in
We're
the,
like we're 4 tried to be goofy right away, and then tried to make it more serious, and then it never reached it.
Yeah,
even with 1, it ends with you fighting on top of a fucking tank against
yeah,
a
with
jack-
zombies,
Yeah.
which is and then like Craig is like into the sky or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah,
It's crazy, but like Dead Rising 2 is a bit, or Dead Rising 3 has a bit more of a crazy ending.
yeah.
I would say Dead Rising 2's ending
What
is
was-
the most
how
believable.
did
It's the most
threes?
human ending.
How did 3s end?
You finally.
Oh,
it's-
that's right. You chased down the gunship.
Yeah,
Yup,
And then
yup, and you have
fight.
to destroy the drones because they're trying to get the queens to
Yup.
make more money because you're trying to stop them from
Yeah.
like using the apocalypse and the zombie outbreaks as
to
a
sell
way.
Zombrex and all this.
And
And
then
it helped with the story a lot too. It really developed it with the lady, like
Who was spoiler character from a different game?
really?
yes,
Yeah, she's from 1.
yeah, you didn't know
That's
that.
really important. That's actually
No. I'm talking about the lady in the wheelchair.
yes.
Is she?
Yes.
She's from 1. She's a super important character in 1.
Or no, you're not talking about Isabella, are you?
No, I'm not talking about Isabella. I'm
Was it-
talking
she was
about the
also in one,
wheelchair
right?
later.
Isabella, yeah, Isabella's in 1. The
Because I
wheelchair
believe the
chick.
wheelchair lady only gets revealed in Case West in the DLC where Frank and
But wheelchair
Chuck
lady.
go in. Yeah, because Frank and Chuck go into the facility where they're making the
Does she die
Zombrex.
in 3? The wheelchair chick. I thought she like.
she
dies-
might. I think someone rolls her off a building.
I thought she
Actually-
dies earlier.
Again, that's also the funny part of like 3. It takes itself serious for a little, and then it gets a
But
goofy.
then the thing is, though, because the whole thing was like at the end of Case West, she goes, "You don't think we already have a cure?"
Yeah, that was the final
And then all
thing.
of a
Yeah,
sudden, you
that's
learn
the-
in
that's the
Case West.
stinger.
You learn in
I was mixing up
3,
characters. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
because then you learn in 3. Boom, she actually didn't have a cure.
And
she's
she's like-
bullshitting. She's trying to find one.
Yep. Because she's infected too, and she's just trying to like counteract it.
And she was trying to like fuck with like Chuck
no,
and,
Isabella
like, Isabel
fucking
and things.
causes the outbreak in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
what
the
it
other
was.
thing. She was
She's
trying to
evil.
find Nick and his buddy. What's his name?
That's what. Okay.
Because
I
that's
mixed the characters
right.
up.
Yeah,
that's
because-
right. Nick and people are immune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
part of the bash that was actually be able to be immune.
That's why I was confusing them because I confused them both. I was like, oh wait,
And Isabel is like, this was for the great, like,
this is for greater good.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is for greater good because now we know that they're immune. We can start working on the cure to save me. She
Yeah.
becomes a bit
she's
more
very
selfish.
Yeah.
But the thing is that makes sense given how much time has passed and things like that, and she tried the other ways. So it makes sense for a character to eventually become jaded with the idea.
Did you know Dead Rising 1 on the Wii has more after that scene of Frank yelling on top of a tank?
Really?
Oh, really?
There's a little bit more, and I think it shows him getting away with Isabella.
That's cool. I like
It's
that.
if I remember correctly, it is the Wii version specifically that
Chop
has
till you
it.
drop, dude.
And it's really weird because it's literally on top of the tank. And Isabella goes, "What the fuck are you doing? Let's get out of here." And he goes, "I don't want to. I've lost all hope." And she goes, I think that's where actually it's revealed. She goes, "We might have a cure at some point because I've been working with someone on it." And then he goes, "Sign me up." And then
Yeah.
he runs.
And then, like,
gets away.
Again, seeing him I didn't know he was at the end of the game. He was infected. So seeing him in Case West when he saves, and I love that about Case West too, is that it makes the bad end, like one of the bad endings of
Canon.
Dead Rising 2
Yeah, it's ending there.
canon.
I love that so much. I love when a game has a canon bad ending that leads into something else.
Because it's slightly different than the actual ending, but it's a modified version of the bad ending. Because in the bad ending, like,
But it also sets up 3 too, with him being separated from Katie.
Yeah.
God, it's so good. I really like that stuff that they did. And people really shit on 3 too, though. Because of the more linear, the more relaxed.
Linear's
And-
completely
yeah,
and
and
more
relaxed,
relaxed
too.
like timeline where it's not like you're rushing from mission to mission, which I personally enjoyed more because
it
I was
makes
able
it
to
a more
explore
casual
more.
game, which is I actually thought it was weird that they did it, but I got why.
It was super
I loved
fucking
it.
easy too. All you needed was just a gun. You could just auto aim. You didn't have to aim. You just pull the right trigger and he snaps to everybody.
But guess what? That still was a fun game with a
it was
decent
fun
story.
to do.
And like
Versus
enhancing
4.
the combo system too,
fucking
where the
four.
combo system became better because not only do you have the combo with the weapons, but now you have combos with vehicles,
Yeah.
which is way cool. And the idea and making vehicle combat more viable and more of a thing is way cooler.
I think the locker kind of ruined it though, because you could just go
Yeah,
back to the
grab your
locker and
items.
grab it right away. I think that was kind of like, oh come on,
That one,
this
yeah.
made it too easy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because if they took that away and made it, you had to get a certain currency to do that,
Right.
it would have made it way more of a fun thing versus it being
Was
like,
there money in that game? I don't think there was.
There
no,
was.
no.
In 3 was
in
there? I
3?
don't remember there. Well, I don't remember what you'd buy. I don't remember there being
Yeah, I don't-
stores.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
Because I don't remember in 3 ever
Which
being
I think
money.
was lame. I like the idea of a currency because that was kind of interesting. Was that you still had currency and people were still trying to operate, especially in 2. Where wait, did 1 even have currency? I don't think so.
No.
One did,
I think 2 was the
I
only
thought
one
one
that
did
had.
because you could buy stuff from vending machines.
Oh yeah, I guess from vending machines, but
And
I
then
don't.
there was some things you can buy from stores, if I remember correctly.
In 2, there was
In
the
2
pawn
definitely.
shops.
In 2
Two,
definitely.
yeah.
The
I
focus
think
on
in
money
the
stuff
Wii
in 2 is
version,
nice.
in 1 there was, because there's the gun store,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Totally.
they changed them up in the.
Oh yeah, because the Wii version was more focused on guns, not melee combat.
Weird.
Well,
The Wii, because it makes more sense because the Wii is a better console for that
the
style.
the waggle controls.
Yeah, because the way you would attack was this
Yeah, you just
in the game, but then for guns you literally just went.
yeah,
Right.
so it made sense. So they tried to orient it towards that because it was just easier for the players.
But again, I think Dead Rising was probably like it's one of those series where it started off really good, 2 improved on everything, you made it better, 3 streamlined it, but still made it good. So it goes like for like size comparisons of like a literal visual graph, but it goes like 1 is like a 8, 2 is a 9, 3 went to a 7,
Yep.
but it's a high 7. It's like a basically an 8.
yeah, it's on
And
board.
4
with eight.
went from a high basically an 8 to a
Four,
like a
three.
4
1.
3. Well, 1.
Wow.
Wow.
1 to me.
I wouldn't go that low.
I would go that low because it takes away everything that made a Dead Rising game fun
There's a
and made it interesting.
There's a few customizable weapons that are fun to use, but like other than that, like story's not there.
And that's why I'm
Exos-
saying that.
But maybe it's something you might want to revisit and see because
I probably should.
here's the interesting thing about that though is because what do you think of Fallout 4?
Here's Fallout 4. Again, I've always said this. It's a good game. It's not a good Fallout game.
And
But I agree now after playing it a little bit more. I think it's a okay Fallout game, not a good one. Because I'm also playing New Vegas and I played 3.
yeah.
And then I did this and I looked back at 1 and 2. Those games have way more interesting ways of approaching every problem versus 4 where you just need a 10 in charisma and you can literally just go, I don't know. And then just go through every
They're like,
conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, very
Right.
good.
But the interesting thing about that, though, is the fact that you came back to it. Because I recently was doing a playthrough where I was editing it, and you said, I can't stand Fallout. You literally said, like, I can't stand Fallout 4. I hate it. And it just ruined Fallout, kind of. Like, in that general idea.
For that style, yeah, because I remember saying that and then being like, you know what? That was too far.
Yeah,
I should
and then
go
you went back and played it. So it's interesting to see how, like, we can dislike something so heavily, but go back and then decide maybe that was unjust or unfair. Maybe Dead Rising 4 isn't as bad as we remember.
No, that one I know I'm steadfast
Yeah,
on
that one I know
because
for
it literally
sure.
ruins.
Maybe it's
it ruins
bad, but maybe it's not as bad as you think.
No, it
It
ruins
literally
Frank
it ruins Frank, and then it removes a lot of the fun of the game.
because it doesn't even.
And that's not because like
Yeah.
in Fallout 4, where I was like, the fun part is the shooting in that game.
Yeah.
100%. That's what they focus on the most. Made weapons really customizable. Made so your play style is either stealth or action or somewhere in between.
Mhm.
And it focused on the playing aspect of the game and lost the RPG elements.
right.
Whereas Dead Rising 4
Drops
said
Phoenitrans.
no RPG elements other than just you get health and stamina. You get inventory space that is finite, but it's finite in such a way that it's not fun.
There is a skill tree.
Throwables, and they add the skill tree, but it's not even a good skill tree.
No, it's just like generic shit.
Yeah, and it doesn't really add anything to the game. Whereas like in 2 where you can't choose anything, at least it gives you something interesting each time. Versus this where it's like, here, put points here.
Like they dropped the Phoenitrans fucking story. Like you don't.
In 4?
Yeah, they don't fucking talk about the
They don't-
drug company at
They
all.
don't talk about a lot before.
The only thing that they talk about that ties
the
back.
What's the focus
is
of the four?
first
Yes.
time he goes to the mall.
The first time he goes
He
to the
doesn't
mall.
even mention 2 in any way. No,
Yeah.
he offhandedly goes, "Oh, there's another outbreak in Las Vegas, right?" Yeah,
Right.
we don't talk about that.
and then
What do you mean? What? You were there.
Right,
Chase
exactly.
West, you're canonly there.
and then
He's like, "I don't talk about that."
and then the only character that they talk back to that actually ties back to the other Dead Rising games is the old man from the first one.
Yeah,
Oh, Otis?
Yeah. No, not
Not
the black
Otis.
dude. The
Oh.
old the crazy guy that you kind of like talk to
near the end.
and that
Is it near the end?
no, it's in the beginning. He dies right away. He's like, "Oh, this was a doctor or whatever his name was. He had a fucking cat or something like that." That is the
I don't
only
remember that now.
that is the only character that you
But
that
that's what I'm
ties to-
saying. It even cuts ties with the series that it's linked to, and that's why it's so weird.
It tried to be its own thing almost.
Yes.
but
like
it still
failed.
wanted it, and it failed in such a way because it was like, we're our own thing, but we're gonna use the same character. Because they did a different character, I think it would have been okay.
Right.
I think if it wasn't Frank, it would have been okay. But it's the fact they went so hard with it being Frank because they're like, Frank is back and better than
Yeah.
ever. And
He's
like,
It was
angsty.
definitely a marketing design then to make that character Frank again.
yeah,
Maybe
and
they had the idea for another like zombie game with mechs and things like that, and then they just decided maybe let's just shoehorn
Frank,
Dead Rising in quick and get a quick buck off.
and that's probably most likely what it was. But
Should
then
that be the game we play for Christmas?
That's what honestly. That's what I was kind of
Oh,
thinking.
should.
That's why I
'Cause
was
it is a
like,
Christmas game.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
why.
it
That's why I
totally
kept on
is.
bringing it up. I'm like, it's a
okay,
Christmas
you know
game.
what? We're doing that, but
I have it, so we're good on that front. We can play it on
Yeah, but
PC.
yeah, I
It's
also
so
I got all the
fucking
DLC
good.
too.
Oh, maybe we should play it on your account.
Yes,
then.
I have
Again,
all the fucking DLC.
as much as I said Fallout 4 was bad, I still went back to it because I was like, you know what? I didn't give this a fair shake in the same sense I gave another thing a fair shake. I even ironed out problems I shouldn't have needed to iron out. Because
Yeah.
guess what? The game locked at 40 FPS because of my monitor's refresh rate. And then I looked into it, it's like, yeah, if you have 144 hertz, sometimes it just locks at 40. And I'm like, that's not right. So I had to lower my refresh rate on my monitor, cut it to 120 to make it 60, and then fix it. But then another day, it reset everything and made it 70 is the cap.
Nice.
So literally, I had to iron out problems for a game that I didn't want to start playing. As soon as I started playing, I'm like, you know what? All of my prejudgments aside, and I look through it, I'm going to judge it based on this playthrough entirely.
Yeah.
And I went through it, I enjoyed it a lot, but there is no end game other than choose this faction and stick with them.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
even then, it's not even like a fun way of doing it. It's literally just like, all right, now you've chosen your faction. Now go do everything for them. And it's like 4 missions.
I would almost say that the factions ultimately lead to the same endpoint, which is destroy the Institute.
Destroy
a lot,
Institute
or if
and
you're Institute, and that's it.
Yeah, so it's either destroy the Institute with a specific set of missions.
everyone else.
If you're Brotherhood.
Well, also with
for the railroad, you only do one.
You fuck up
And
their
Minutemen, you don't do anybody.
Yeah, if
well,
you go
yeah,
with the
Minutemen, you
Minim-
don't do anyone.
Yeah, there's a way you can like get to a certain point with everybody's missions, and then if you side with the Minutemen, everybody just kind of goes. Even I think you still destroy the Institute. You can always have to destroy the Institute, but you can keep the Brotherhood and the Railroad still okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing. It's like those all lead to the same point, which is that destroy Institute or destroy the Brotherhood. There's
Right.
one or the other because those are the main factions that are feuding. And I think about it more and more. I'm like, the Brotherhood sucks because they're not the Lions branch from 3 and New Vegas, which the Lions branch are like the really good ones where they're like, as long as you help us, we will not pursue you. Because super mutants in 4 are literally considered like abominations and they shoot on sight. Having any super mutant with you makes them so angry that they want to shoot him, but they're like, he's your guest, we can't.
Yeah,
Since you have them in your group, they hate them. They're basically the equivalent of sky racists.
Yeah.
yeah,
Straight up, they are.
Which in any other version with the Lions group, which is the main group from 3, Fallout New Vegas, and then 2, who is like the overseer of them, they're literally like, if you've helped us and you're a super mutant, we pardon you. Because we don't want to pursue everyone as like an enemy. We want everyone to be equal. And we want to make sure the Commonwealth or any place we are just a good place.
yeah. But
Right.
I
So you
feel
can
like the
live.
faction in 4 was more focused on getting rid of technology to put people. I don't know if that's always been the goal of the Brotherhood. I believe so.
In 4 is their own unique view of it from a perspective from a person in 3. Because in 3, they have a outcast group of Brotherhood of Steel who believe
Yeah.
that hoarding technology and keeping it from the common man will save them overall because we will be the crossbearers. We want to be martyrs of everything else. And then Maxim,
Yeah,
Yep.
Mason, whatever his name is
Something massive.
in 3
yeah,
as a squire, and he learns it from them and then goes, Lions is being too good of a person and trying to give handouts to people who need it. That's not how the Brotherhood should be. We should just be a vicious group that forces the Commonwealth to be what we want.
yeah.
And that's why it feels so weird to go from like 3 to 4 or even 3 to New Vegas and then to 4 to be like
I do like the fact
and
that some.
sky racists.
They're almost like good guy Nazis. Kind
They
of.
are good guy Nazis, straight up.
It's like
Especially since they want you to go and someone who helps you get to the Institute, they're like, oh, he's a super mutant? Kill him.
yeah. Oh, put
Get
him
out.
down. Yeah.
And you could totally talk them out of it, but it's
Yep.
like you still have to talk them out of it. And then my whole thing with like the Institute, it's like, even though the Brotherhood of Steel are dirty sky Nazis who are hopelessly evil in their own way, the Institute's way worse, no matter what. I've literally talked to a lot of people who've played the game all the way through. The Institute is the most evil faction in the game.
Really?
100%. You know why?
Really?
Because they steal people and then replace them, which is already wrong in and of itself. If they were just creating new life, I would think they were a little bit better. It's the fact they're taking people from their families and then replacing them with robots that are them in almost every way except being that person.
Right. Yeah. They're
They're
But what
taking
was their
away the-
intent of doing that?
Their intent, have you not played all the way through 4? Their intent
I've gotten
is
pretty close. I've never beat
their
it.
intent is to replace everyone in the Commonwealth with robots because they can control them.
Oh, really? I
They're
didn't know that.
super evil.
I must have overlooked that then.
But the
They
thing
say it in
is-
text logs.
But the thing
It's
is,
really important.
Oh, okay.
but the thing is, they probably hope that you overlook that because spoiler alert, just for anybody who's no.
Oh, let me give you the big spoil thing. This is a spoiler for a game that's been out for 4 years.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
We've been spoiling
For
a ton of stuff
4
anyways.
years.
So.
If you haven't played it, pick it up on Steam. It's $20. All right, now say what you want to say.
That the institute is run by your son, essentially.
Your boy.
Which you're supposed to overlook it like as a parental figure and be like, you know what, I want his happiness. But as you look more at it, since if they made just new people and just dropped him in there instead of trying to take it from families, it would have been fine. It's
like
the
what
fact,
the railroad was doing, essentially.
yeah,
Right.
which is liberating people who are not being replaced. It's just new people in general. Also, want to know another spoiler that makes the Institute even more evil? The Institute. Do you know John Hancock, the ghoul you meet in Good
Yeah,
Neighbor?
yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
His story is that he grew up in Diamond City, and he had a brother who was also named. I think his name was John something.
Mm-hmm.
Because John Hancock's real name isn't John Hancock.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like David something.
He took over that role.
Because he found it after a drug-induced haze.
Yep.
So the reason he got kicked out of Good Neighbor was because his
Not kick out Good Neighbor, kick
no,
out
Diamond
Diamond City.
is because his brother rose into power and then used ghouls as a stepping stone to kick out a bunch of people, and he didn't find that right because he wasn't a ghoul yet. And he was like, you know what? That's evil. I don't like this. I'm gonna leave. He finds a drug because then he goes into doing a lot of drugs. And he finds a drug that he knows will turn him into a ghoul. And he's like, I want to get fucking fucked.
Right.
I want to be high.
And
he does it, and he turns himself into a ghoul, and then he awakens after like I think he says 3 days in front of a John Hancock uniform.
Yeah.
As you go through that, he finds Good Neighbor, finds it, and makes him want to be the most free place in the Commonwealth. As you progress his story through his affection, you find out that his brother is the mayor of Diamond City, the current mayor. And guess what?
You fucking put that guy down pretty quick.
He's a fucking synth.
Yep. I actually knew that. I actually knew that. I don't remember how. I don't remember how, but I remember
the fact. And John Hancock's whole monologue about him being a synth is why I hate the Institute as much as I do, because he says, I knew something was wrong. One day my brother came back and had a crooked smile on his face I had never seen before. They took my brother from me for no reason other than to forward their agenda, because they planted him to make ghouls not be able to be in Diamond City. They literally were trying to segregate a portion of the people out.
Yeah.
And Piper even knew that, though. Piper knew that there was something up with the mayor, that the mayor was probably a synth too, though.
Yeah, and that's why he pushes so hard for it to get kicked out.
Yep.
It's literally the reason. And even though, another spoiler, Paladin Dance
Yep,
is
I knew
a
this
synth.
one.
A synth. He still believes in the Brotherhood's mantra, and the Brotherhood of Steel still don't want him to be around.
Yep.
It shows that synths have free will past their programming.
So then the ultimate goals, you're like, this group's a piece of shit. This group's a piece of shit. Now you have 2 groups to pick from.
Yeah, or 3. You have like 3 or 4 technically.
Watchmen and the Railroad.
Yeah.
That's 2.
No, 4 total.
That's what I'm saying, though. Is that 2 are a piece of shit. Why would you choose them? You're left with 2.
No, I think the Brotherhood of Steel's goal is decent. It's actually a decent goal with a wrong reason behind it. The Institute is straight up just a bad choice to me. It's the most evil choice in the game because it's literally take everyone's freedom because why not?
I heard that if you choose the Institute ending in places like Diamond Cities, you see synths start roaming around to patrol it, and it gets really bad.
Yeah,
it's really
interesting.
Same with Brotherhood of Steel. Once you beat the game as
Nuka
Brotherhood,
World, dude.
But Nuka World's a whole different can of worms.
I think Nuka World is kind of a dumb DLC, and I wish they would have done more with the idea of if you don't want to fuck up these places that you've been building throughout the main game, like because like to get the story out of it, you have to become a raider. Whereas you can overthrow Nuka World, you can go through and kill everybody in Nuka World and just take it over, but you miss everything. All you do is just kill, go up to the generator room, don't really fight. You just get up there and then you just flip it, and that's it.
And then you walk around to the other areas that were side things that you would have seen along the way. And then you get the other side stories.
I don't even think you have to go there. You can just straight up skip all of that.
Yeah, straight up. But that's what you could do. But that's not what you usually do in those, because that's how you're supposed to find them.
And I wish there was a way around that, because again, you see little storylines, like the ghoul that runs the place that's like the park. Okay.
Yeah,
the ghoul has some really fucking sick lore
ideas and lore. It's really cool.
Because there's this ghoul that is one of the few ghouls that people know is immortal and kind of has powers almost.
Because ghouls are really weirdly ambiguous in the series. Because ghouls either live forever or the same length of a human or just barely over the length of a human. So this is the first one where they ever were like, this guy is literally infinite.
It's immortal. Yeah. Because the whole point is that he ran part of Nuka World, which is like a Disney World type place.
Yeah.
He ran that section of the park, and as soon as the bombs dropped, everybody had to go in underground. And he was the last person who was keeping everybody in that world safe. So when you start killing the ghouls, he gets really pissed off and starts spreading smoke that only ghouls could breathe. Because he's like, I'm going to keep my park guests safe. These are people that I knew and worked with at the park that I cared about. They need to remain safe, and I need to keep working on it while my wife leaves and finds a cure. But it's been hundreds of years. So you have to break the news to him your wife might not come back. Your wife has been gone for so long. It's been hundreds of years. And depending on how you talk to him, he could be like, you're right. I need to find the cure. And things like that.
Right.
It's a really cool side story. It's completely optional. Or the dude who's basically Tarzan.
Yeah, that dude's really good. I love him.
But the thing is, then you force him to live with bandits. He's like, oh, these guys are kind of mean. It's shitty. Again, to get this to the story, I'm pretty sure you have to otherwise the story's kind of lost if you don't side with the raiders.
Oh my god!
But then you end up with shitty stuff there.
the reason why there is no morality in 4 is because of that.
Hmm.
It's totally because of that DLC. Because in Fallout 3 and 4, there's a morality system where you can gain karma to be a good person or
Yeah.
a bad person.
Right.
And that actually
Yeah.
affects how the gameplay works.
Right.
Yeah, even in like
Whereas
New
in-
Vegas, you get the factions, and the factions are
Yep.
good, evil, and if you become friends with one faction, another faction will become mad at you because one's good and one's evil.
Right.
And then in 4, you couldn't do any of that. Because if you could, that would mean that good characters couldn't do that properly. Because raiders in other games shoot you on sight if you're not a friend.
Right.
In Fallout New Vegas, if you are a really good person overall, raiders will shoot on sight, the Legion will shoot on sight, and the drug addicts who are in the northwest part of the map will shoot on sight.
Yeah.
But NCR, who are not really necessarily good guys, and the Brotherhood of Steel, who are not necessarily good guys, will still think of you as a neutral or a good person, so they won't shoot on sight.
Yeah.
And it creates a whole different landscape to fight in,
Yeah.
But then you have Fallout 76, man.
where there's nothing
Which
at
is
all.
epic.
Where's fucking jack shit? Fuck that game though, for real.
I don't think there's any discussion about Fallout 76. It's
There's
just
not.
I don't think that
if you
needs to
don't
be.
like, if you just want to fuck around Fallout game with
Yeah.
friends,
76 is
that's
fine.
fair. But,
But
like,
if
it
you
ruined-
wanted a Fallout game, no.
you ain't
no, you're not getting that.
That's just an empty shell right there.
But like, yeah, again with the nuclear world, it's just like you kind of had to experience any of it because the other option was just boring. You just miss all that stuff. Like,
And
of
then-
course, some areas are boring, but like you miss everything about the other stuff.
You
And
know,
then what was the other big story expansion? Was it just Far Harbor?
Far Harbor.
Yeah, that I mean
Far
that.
Harbor was the only DLC that
That was a
actually had a
mystery.
skill check in it, but it had one.
Yeah.
It right away. There's a dude where it's like it's the only time where it's like if you have 70 medicine, you can heal this guy, and you're like, oh, and then you do
That's
that.
that's not even medicine, isn't it? Just intelligence.
Something like that. But
Right.
even then, it's like 70 of a point or something like that. Or if you have so
There
much
is
of a
no
point.
70. It's only 7.
Yeah. So it's like if you have 7 of this, which is the only time they ask you for a specific numerical value for something like that. And
Yeah.
then you just heal him, and that's it. It doesn't go anywhere. The dude just goes, here's some money for healing him.
Right.
you do see
And
him
people
around Far
praised it.
Harbor.
What?
You do see him around Far Harbor. Be fair.
He
walks
walks around and he's like, thanks.
But if you don't heal him, he literally just dies and then fades away. And they
That's
throw him
it.
in the ocean.
But
Wasn't
Far
the-
Harbor was at least interesting, I guess, with the
Yeah.
whole like,
It's really-
dynamic between synths and like the idea.
Human nature and sense.
And
Especially if
learn-
you bring Nick Valentine.
Oh, yeah,
I
Do you
know,
know,
bro.
do you know about
Oh,
that?
you know what? Yeah, Nick was good friends with the guy who runs
It was his
Sanctuary.
brother.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
his brother.
And it's actually one of the most interesting things that it incorporated a character from base game into something
Yep.
else.
Yep.
Because all the other ones are just like, oh hey, look,
Yeah,
we're
Far Harbor wasn't a
we're
bad
here.
deal.
Wasn't the fucking
But you have
fog
to-
like radioactive? Was that also part of the twist?
What the fuck was with the fog? I never understood
Oh,
what the
you
fuck
wanna
was
know?
up with the fog.
you wanna know?
What the fuck?
The nuclear holocaust that happened pretty much created radiation storms because the atmosphere was still so poisoned from the radiation.
And that's
Because
what the fog is?
it was only 100 years after the bombs dropped. It was still too new. That's why it's there.
Okay,
Because if you want a time reference of when these games happen, it goes Fallout 3 is in like 21, 23. Fallout New Vegas happens in like 21, 48. And then Fallout 4 happens in like 21, 50 something. It's literally within like 50 years of each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
'Cause I know
completely
that the
different
lone
parts of the
I
world.
know that the Wanderer or the guy from Fallout 3, whatever his name is,
Lone
I can't
Wanderer.
remember. Yeah, the Lone Wanderer. He's still alive and going around in Fallout 4. You hear stories about that
Uh-huh.
character still living.
You hear him offhandedly, and if you find a certain journal, you can literally read someone being like, listen, this dude was fucking awesome. He literally cleansed the water in the what is it? Not the Commonwealth.
DC.
In DC
Yep.
entirely with the help of the Brotherhood of Steel and made the world livable there. They actually have farms and stuff there. And then you
Right.
hear about the courier like very, very quickly. And just like the courier made his own path. Whether or not people think it's good or bad is up to them.
Yeah.
And then it's like the guy in Forge is like, I found my son.
I found
See
yeah.
ya.
I
He
found
stopped
some-
he stopped one of the biggest like threats of the
The
you know,
Commonwealth.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Commonwealth and the world. If the Institute got bigger, they would have fucked up the whole world. So it is an important like milestone, but it's more of a like
It's
a
more
milestone. It's
personal.
more of a thankless milestone because no
Yeah.
one's really gonna remember that. Like maybe
Right.
a sect of some people in the Commonwealth, like a small sect of like people are gonna be like, I guess the Institute's gone.
Do you want
They
to
don't know you're the one.
Do you want to know the most thankless one? Fallout 1 or 2. The whole point of the game is you're supposed to find a filtration unit for
Oh
your,
yeah,
and you literally walk back into your vault after finding after like let's say 40 hours of playing. You walk back in, they go, "Thank you. Now you have to leave." And you go, "Why?" Because you're a hero. And if you're here, people will attack us. We thank you dearly, but you have to leave.
It was something like that in Fallout 3 though too. If you go back to the vault, they're like you ultimately they
Yeah,
tell
that's
you have to
literally
leave.
the same. They draw
Yeah.
parallels, but the difference is they actually say the same line. You're a hero. You can't be here. The literal exact same line
That's really
between those
cool.
two, and
Nice.
it's the most thankless one because you literally go, dude, I found it. I fucking found the thing for everybody to give us cool water.
All right, no,
Uh,
leave.
What?
Just go. If you're
Wait,
here, you're in
what?
danger. Just
We don't
go.
want to be attacked, dude.
It's also in 2. 2 is the strongest main character in all the series. Straight up.
Not
Wha-
my character in Fallout 3. I leveled everything out to
Do you
100,
want to know?
baby.
Do you want to know why he's the strongest?
Hmm.
He's the only one to have confirmed fight an enemy with 10 in every single stat and
one.
power armor that made him the strongest character in any series. That was a super mutant that you could only fight at the end of the game. Was Enclave, had an army behind him, and beat him.
True.
And then had a Death Claw as a pet.
Hmm.
He was literally the strongest you could get ever. Because again, the super mutant that you fight has 10 in every stat. There was no human could do that without the human abilities.
Have you ever
of
heard why
everything
they
else.
made special a thing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's because they couldn't get the rights to like I believe D&D's way. Like they're
Gorps?
just what?
Was it Gorps?
Yeah, I think they wanted to do
Gorps.
Gorps.
Yep. It's like general rule something of RPGs.
Yeah, it was a basic
Oh.
RPG trope that they couldn't get the rights to, so they just created their own called special.
Yep.
They're like, we can't get this, which is like, speed, endurance, whatever, all that stuff. But then they just went, let's make our own. Let's just do special. Same with Stimpaks. The reason Stimpaks came to be is because Australia is like, because before it was morphine, they're like, we do not
Yeah.
want to endorse just using
drug
morphine.
use
Which is funny
and
because
Ozzy.
Med-X became morphine.
Med-X did?
Yep.
Oh.
In Fallout New Vegas, a guy specifically talks to you. He's like, if you have Med-X, I can end my life if you give me so many. And you're like, wait. And then you think about it, and he's like, I just need Med-X to dull the pain. Not a Stimpak. Med-X.
But
to
I
dull
love
the
that.
pain.
I love that it's a simple like censorship of not being able to use morphine completely kind of changed the Fallout landscape. But
Yep.
then all of a sudden we had Stimpaks, which is sick. That's a really cool story because it's not like a censorship thing. It's just that they made an alternative that was just as cool.
Right.
I think Fallout 4 has the most fun version of Stimpaks, but it's definitely the weakest overall.
Where it gently heals you instead of instantly.
No. Where it heals your limbs and your health versus
Yeah.
it only doing one or the other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where because in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, you have to choose what they're for. Because you can use a stim pack as a health pack. It won't heal your limbs, but it'll give you a good boost of health. But if you choose to use it on your limbs, that's more important in most cases because you need to be able to move properly.
Right. So they made it more easier in 4 than they did in 3.
Yeah. I think it's the weakest version of Stimpaks. Like, not literally because they are the strongest Stimpaks
Yeah.
ever. Because you get a skill that lets you make them heal 100%.
They're the easiest impacts.
Yeah. They also make you heal. There's a skill that makes you heal 100%
Yep.
of your health. Whereas in 3, you can actually make it so Stimpaks, even at your max medicine, don't heal you all the way.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about because that means your character has like over thousands of health.
Fucking A.
Because again, yeah, I think the Fallout 4 character is the weakest in the series. Like literally from a stats wise and just a story
Do you
point.
think that's kind of the common thing in games? Just like it's the 4th one that's kind of like weak.
Well, how much
It
can you
dep-
iteration on an idea and still make it pretty solid?
I know. I mean, I guess that's the thing. But then I guess it would come down to like story. The story was drop the ball on 4. Like
it drops the ball because it's too personal. You know what I mean?
it's like the courier like carves his own way, but kind of gets thrown in with another destiny. Like initially, the courier's like, "Fuck this guy, he shot me. I'm gonna fucking find him and kill him."
yeah.
But then you do that, and then you learn about something more devious, and then you kind of get roped into the idea with the Yes Man or like this. You learn about these legions. They start talking to you, and they're like, "Hey,
There's more
Wha-
to this.
whoever
Right, yeah.
controls Hoover Dam controls
Trolls.
this area,
Yeah.
controls New California. You should help us."
And then it's like 3's whole thing is I grew up in a vault. My dad was the person who maintained this vault and was a doctor. He just left one day. Why?
So it's
I wanna
personal.
but it then becomes way bigger. Versus like Fallout 4, it's still bigger.
It was still that way though, but I just feel like there's some story beat that they missed along the
they
way
missed
somehow.
because they missed the part where in Fallout 3 where you finally find your dad and there's way more devious shit happening to him in that moment versus it just being they're okay and just doing it something. Because when you meet your son, it should be the biggest moment in the game. It shouldn't be literally
versus like, "Hey son, wanna help?"
It's like, oh my god, I found my son, and then him going, no, that's not your son.
I'm your son.
I'm your son.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but there needs to be more.
Is Sean always white?
No.
Can you make him black?
If you're make both parents black, he's black, I believe. But he still has the white haircut. You know that.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm like, I always thought he's always
He's
set to be
always
this
white
one.
if you aren't just black.
Okay. Oh,
He-
even if you're Asian?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's very, very white in most scenarios.
Nice.
It's weird. But again, Sean's reveal should have been the biggest part of the game.
Well, a big
But
part
it
of-
was squished between the Brotherhood of Steel's revamp and the Institute
also,
as a whole.
I think it takes a lot longer to get to Sean than it does anything else, and plus your focus kind of changes a little bit. Versus your dad, you find right away. You find your dad relatively quickly.
You find your dad if you want to line them up. You actually find them both relatively the same pace if you only do story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't deviate.
Because in 4 you can't. Honestly, deviation in 4 is a lot harder to do because unless you want to go, oh look, there's something I explored over there. I'm going to travel that way. Versus in Fallout 3, even if you take the direct path to where you need to be, there are still stops along the way that are super interesting. Whereas 4 is like, okay, I could just travel here and then walk to here, and there's nothing really in between them. There's buildings, that you
Yeah.
can go
Right,
to,
like,
but
yeah.
it's not anything.
Like if you get to a city or some kind, there'll be like a handful of quests. Whereas like if you're just exploring out in the fucking wilderness, there really isn't that many random quests that you can come
Yeah.
across.
Especially it depends on the way you go.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a big portion of why I think Fallout 4 wasn't that fun when I started, was because I went the way I usually do for all RPGs, is starting point, do the basic thing there, get out of the tutorial, travel everywhere,
Right.
which is a very legitimate
And
thing
also,
to do.
I think the problem with that is that game kind of like there's a clear window where you have to be a certain level to progress, so they kind of want you to stay in an area.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too, is that it feels a bit more limiting because of that. Because there's a certain area where if you can't go past, or you can, but it's incredibly difficult because they anticipate you to do side quests, get to a certain level to be able to get past to further into that area. It's like you have to be a certain level to get here. You need to be a certain level to get here, and then to get into Glowing Sea, we want you to be this. We want you to be incredibly strong.
What are you talking about that you need to get past for the?
A lot of it is like there's like a line kind of almost where there's shooting mutants that are really high level and they're
you're
difficult to
talking-
get past. I'm literally saying like a physical, like in terms of the map, there's an area that's
I
typically
know exactly
that
what
people
you're talking about. Yeah, it's into it's where you're going from Diamond City to forget what it's called south of there.
there's
But
it's somewhere, but
you
like
it's literally just south of Diamond City because there's a bridge you walk across, and it becomes from humans to super mutants.
yeah, and it's very clear there's a level gap there where they wanted you to become stronger before hitting that point because the story never asks you to get to that point until like you're strong enough to get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
forcing you to be like, don't explore here yet. Stay here because this is the low level area and this is the medium level area.
Go
Versus-
find Nick. Please go find Nick. We need him desperately.
Yeah, it's like do some side quests so you can kind of hit that level, then go into that area. We'll have side quests ready for you. You'll do a lot of them. We expect you to do X amount, and then you'll be high enough level to do that. Once you do this, you're gonna do some of the story quests. We're gonna give you some more side quests to get high enough level to continue the story.
Yeah. A lot of that game, I did the main quest really late. I think I fought Kellogg when I was level 50, like 6.
Holy shit.
And guess what? Kellogg, I think, is level 20.
Yeah, you fucking one tap him
But-
at that level.
No, you still can't because they level alongside you. I think that's the best thing about Fallout 4 is that the enemies level up with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a certain level limit, but once they hit that, they'll start leveling up with you. So it's like these may be like 10 levels above you, but you can level up to that point. But if you over level them, they'll start catching up to you
Yep.
again.
Like
I mean, but there were still zones where there's some guys that are like they'll
To
level
To try
up
to
higher.
stop you from going further and explore places, it's almost like a deterrent, so you don't explore places too early or hit things. 'Cause
yeah,
if you went into the Glowing Sea right away and you just like walked into that cave and found the dude right away, it'd be like, what the fuck?
yeah. Here's
And you
the
miss huge story beats.
and the thing about that though is that the enemies level up with you up until like a level 130 or something, 130, 140. Because there's enemies at level 90 I haven't seen yet. There's hermit crabs in the game the size of buses. And you've never seen them because you have to be leveled 90 to see them.
I thought that was only in Far Harbor.
They're in the base game. You had to be level 90 to see them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing them in Harbor. Wow.
Yeah, because they're more common there. Because they're a lower level cap.
huh?
Wasn't
My-
there another DLC for Fallout 4 that were for? Oh,
No,
yeah, the
Far
Harbor
Harbor and-
DLC, which was all right.
The auto.
Yeah,
Autonomous one or something. Like
automaton.
That
Yeah.
one I don't know. I didn't get into that one.
That
I
was
was
It's
just
okay.
That's
it's just
like
the
three
main. It's just you're
missions.
still in the main game area. You're just kind of like doing
Doing
extra
other
stuff.
things.
It's almost like a side mission,
Right.
Yeah.
like completely versus a DLC. It's just like, but it adds the idea of like the companions and things. But then there's the vault, which seemed interesting, but just for me, I'm like, this is fucking so complicated. I need to back out.
Favorite companions, both of you.
Favorite?
Yeah, from I would say any Fallout game, but let's stick to 4 and then do any Fallout game.
I really like Piper.
What
People
do
You
hate.
like? I hate Piper.
Everybody hates Piper.
You like
I have
Piper?
reasons, and I know you have reasons for liking her too.
I just
No.
think she's a sassy
Is
little
it-
shit, and I like
Is
that.
it excluding DLC?
You can include DLC.
No, include it.
Include DLC?
Because there's only like 2 or 3 companions in those DLCs.
Oh, then I would just say the robots that you can build.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
I-
You're not even like the personalities of the other ones are like, fuck them.
I mean, I guess there's that one mercenary in the
oh,
fucking
McCready.
yeah McCready.
Guess what?
Oh,
McCready's
McCready.
in Fallout 3.
Yeah, he's one of the kids. He's the main leader
Okay.
of the area. It's really cool to see him again because you're like, that's McCready.
And you're like, oh, Mayor McCready. Oh wait, you're not mayor anymore.
He's like,
Mercenary McCready.
because he
Yeah.
left because he had to.
Yeah, because his kid was dying. No, he left because he became too old, and then he went to Commonwealth because his kid was dying.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying
And
to
it's
think,
sad.
Who else was there? Like for companions?
Nick was alright.
Nick was
Nick
alright.
is really cool. When
Nick
you
is
find
really
out
cool.
his story, it even becomes cooler.
Right, because he's a throwaway.
No.
I think the least interesting.
No, you
like-
mean as a synth, he's a throwaway?
Yeah, as he's a
He
throwaway.
was a prototype.
yeah,
Not a throwaway because
Well, I mean, but then they
had
kind of
hope.
just like
But they went, we can't do anything with him. He's
Right,
too-
they just
he's too
meh.
far gone.
I feel like the least interesting character is the companion you get with the Institute. It's just like,
Yeah, he's
I'm
just-
a synth.
right. Yeah,
I'm a
hello.
synth. I am also the strongest type of synth.
I can also, if you companion me enough, I can fuck you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, I guess the one that's probably most interesting to do is the fucking bot that you give her a body.
Carrie.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
literally
that's
about to say
cool,
I
yeah.
love Carrie.
I didn't realize that there was more with that vault, if I'm gonna be honest. Until
yeah,
I
it's hard to really notice.
It's hard
Yeah.
to find it almost because
Yeah.
you have to be there for a while and do stuff until all of a sudden they're like, yeah, he's sick. He went in this area and this kid's sick. That's when you can finally explore deeper.
And then find Carrie.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can give her a body is really neat. I never got that far, but I knew about it.
It's
but-
really, really fun.
Yeah.
Carrie's my favorite.
Oh, and what's her face? The Irish one is pretty.
Oh,
neat, too.
the redhead chick.
Katie.
Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is super interesting too. She actually becomes one of the most fleshed out characters alongside Hancock. Actually, all
Well,
of them are
'cause
really
her whole
fleshed out
thing- her
except
whole
for like
thing is-
Carrie.
Kicking drugs.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because she's one of the few, like one of the characters that like pre-doing this, certain things will make her happy. After doing it, they'll make her mad.
Yep.
It's like if you do like Psycho and stuff, because her whole thing is that she's just a fighter.
Yeah,
she was a
that's
fighter
right.
ring.
That's right.
And then if you do Psycho and stuff around her, she goes, "Yeah, give me some of that." And then she's like, "This shit's gonna kill me.
she
I need
opens
to be
up.
off of it. I need to get off of this."
right.
You put her in that one area, you get her off of it, and then she becomes like, "You can't use
If
that."
you use Psycho, I'm gonna fucking hate you.
It's really cool.
Right.
It's actually she's pretty fleshed out. Okay, I want to go back to Piper. Why do you like Piper? Just because she's sassy?
She's a sassy little shit.
She is awful in every sense of the word because of the first thing she does to you is
Play along. I like that.
She hears you go, "My child's missing," and goes, "Did you say your child's missing? That's a story I can use." She doesn't care about the fact that your child's missing. She cares that she can make a story out
Ooh,
of
she's
it.
female Frank West.
But it's also the fact that she only changes it after you've romanced her, like past the point of where you can sleep with her. Because she goes from, this is a story I can use to, oh, that's your son, I forgot. And then you get the fucking interview with her that you have to do.
Yeah.
And then you really realize she just wants a story the whole time. Even if you take her as a companion, she only starts like about halfway through romancing her going like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have been like that. But I get why. I still
I
don't
like
like
her
it.
a lot. I like her a lot as a character, and a lot of people disagree with me, and I get it.
I don't disagree with you that you like. I think she is a good character. I just hate her when she starts
Yeah.
because Carrie's whole thing, she's really bland. She's literally like, I am here to heal and I want to do research. And then
Right.
as you get further and further, she's like,
I want the body.
I want a body because I'm limited to being a robot.
Yeah, and I don't want to. Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun of it is that you really get to see her bloom as a person.
Right.
And she has some of the cutest lines from when you romance her all the way. She literally goes, I can't take my eyes off you. It's making me flustered. It's so fucking cute.
She's fucking cool.
She's-
My waifu.
She's so fucking cute. But then again, like Strong is the worst companion to me. He's probably the best statistical companion. His ability sucks
He's boring.
and he's boring and there is no romance or even more to him other than I'm strong.
I want that milk. You have to find the milk. and
The
then you
milk of
never
human
find it.
kindness.
Speaking of fucking never finding it ever again, who the fuck's with the imposter of no, there's settlements in danger. What's that guy's name?
Preston.
Preston.
Oh,
Preston
yeah, you
Garvey's
can find that. You
imposter.
can
Yeah, you
find,
find
the
the
imposter.
imposter.
It's just a random event.
Yeah,
and
that's
They
it.
don't like
it's literally
elaborate
just
on
like
it.
No.
they're just like if
It's
you
just a
have
thing that
Preston
can
with you,
happen.
he goes, "The fuck you doing, man? I'm Preston." He goes, "Oh,
Right, and then he
all
just
right, I'm
runs
done."
away.
That's it. It's just a random event. It's literally 100% just a random event.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I met him once during one of my playthrough with my
I'm
stealth
so
character.
confused.
I literally walked past him. He was like, "Hey, do you want money?" I'm like, I'm literally the general.
Yeah, I'm the
of
general here.
And he goes, "Oh,
And then he runs away.
bye."
It's so weird. It's
It's
just
such a
weird that I like the fact that stuff like that can happen though. But
It's
yeah,
fun. I
But I mean, they don't do it that often because the other times I remember is like there's a dude that's pointing a gun at two other dudes and he's like one of them's a synth, one of them's not.
that's
Decide.
in Diamond City, and that's not a random event.
No,
there
not
is
that
this
one.
random event
It's like
where
it's under
two
a
dudes.
bridge.
No, there's two dudes who can fight. Where one of them's like, he's a synth, and it's like, no, he's a synth, and they open fire.
One person pointing at two people, or is it two people fighting each other?
Two people find each other.
Yeah, that's one that's rare, but it's art.
It is art.
It's
yeah,
art the
you're
synth
right.
and art the human, because I saw this recently, and it's completely random who is the synth and who isn't.
No, I think you can.
It's completely random because you don't know right away, and because you have to find out through
trial and
one of them.
error.
Yeah, but if you
Mhm.
find out, usually it's the one that has the shotgun who is the synth.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's just this weird thing of like that's a really cool, interesting thing, but nothing else happens. I mean, there's one that I got really early where there's a group of people traveling together, and one of them goes, "You're a fucking synth. How dare you? You lied to us this whole time." He's like, "I didn't lie to you. I just didn't say I was a synth. I trusted you and I put my back to you so you can, do everything. I didn't hurt you." And it's the first time you really meet a synth if you do get it early enough.
Right.
And it's the most interesting start to the game if you get it early. Other than that, you do it later and you pretty much have your view on synths.
yeah.
Because you
Right.
get to about, I'd say 40% of the game and you go, synths are evil or synths are good or they're somewhere in the middle.
And then other than that, like what other unique thing? Because there's the aliens that you can do. There's the psycho killer with the art,
Yeah, Pikmin.
and then trying to think what else. There's the
Yeah, that was
XO3
cool.
armor
Really cool.
in the city. That it's like I mean, the aliens in the XO3 armor. It's not necessarily a quest.
There's a silver shroud. That mission's bugged.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So shroud.
bugged?
It's bugged.
yeah, it is. You can get to the very end and have to save the guy, and he can just die before you get there, before you even talk to him. It's specifically, and people actually know exactly what causes it, and it's really hard to stop. Like really fucking hard.
I never.
So like you can get up to that elevator, you can go up the second elevator, and all of a sudden it's just like failed. And they just open fire all of a sudden on him. You don't even get there and he's dead.
Oh my God.
It's not even
Yeah,
a
I
time
never had
thing.
that
It's
one.
literally just a robot fights and shoots weird. And if you don't, so like when you walk in the building, you can look up in the window and there's a robot walking around. And if he shoots for whatever reason, it alarms them and they think you shot. So they just open fire as if you shot.
Oh.
And it's a
Okay.
bug. It can happen. And it happened to me. And it's so fucking hard to stop it because you have to kill the robot in there and hope to God the turrets don't go off on you before you can kill them. Because the turrets go off, they go, "Oh, he's shooting at us." Even though you're nowhere near
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
bugged as shit. And it was happening to my friend too. And I tried to explain to her, like, you gotta just chuck nades in that window. And like, if it doesn't work, reload your save, try it again.
Right.
You want to know something funny?
Hmm.
Didn't happen to me.
Yeah. That never.
It didn't happen to me the first time either. It was only the second time I played
did
through
it
the game.
twice and it didn't happen. I got really
I did
lucky
it
both times.
4
then.
times.
It's a thing that can, and like, again, it was to the fact that I could look up someone who's like, this is what I did to fix it. And I could do it a few times and then that fixed it.
Yeah.
So it's a well enough problem that people like know about it enough to be like, I've tried and fixed it. It's really stupid. And even then, you can get into him. There's a bug where you can be talking to him and randomly they'll just open fire on you. It's the same idea. You can literally talk to them and like there'll be like a synth somewhere that like, or like for whatever reason, they think you become hostile and you can't stop it.
Yep. That's also one of the more interesting side quests because you could
Oh.
never get it.
And
Uh,
it fucking
or-
sucks that you
or
can
the,
just get to that point and it can bug.
The vampire people. Well, they're not vampires, but they extend their youth. That fucking family.
Oh,
That was a cool side quest
was
too,
really
because
cool.
it's completely unexplained what it really is.
Right.
They explain it very slightly in logs. That's really, really interesting.
'Cause
It's like an ancient like
It's an
thing.
alien artifact
Yeah.
Yeah.
from
yeah.
ancient Mesopotamia
Yeah.
that they get, and they only know that it prolongs life to the only one wearer who has it.
But you can take their blood.
And better part of that is when you go visit them later, a bunch of them are dead and a bunch of them are old.
Yeah, because it depends on how
really?
that plays
Yeah.
out. Yeah, because then they don't have their source, and a lot of them, like, yeah, they become
No, even
old.
if they have the source, they still get old. I shit you not. I did it and gave them it because I'm like, you know what? The father is crazy because you get a random event later. If
Yeah,
you,
but the thing
you
is,
help
once you kill the father, right?
yeah.
Then they lose the blood source, and that's why they become old.
No, they even find a thing to help it too. And,
Yeah, they make like a artificial version.
and they say this should work, and
It
it
doesn't.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't, and then
doesn't.
like a bunch of people die. But even if you let the father go, it still proves their point that one, they don't get a blood source, they get old and die, and the father was crazy.
Was he?
He was literally mind controlled by the fucking thing.
He literally, if you find him later, he's standing over 2 raiders' dead bodies, who were clearly peaceful because they didn't have guns on them,
Yeah.
and he's just like, I had to cleanse the world of their filth, even though they were clearly peaceful raiders.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, there's a lot of really cool side quests and things. It's just, I don't know.
It just seems there's not enough in there. Like it's just kind of like there's a lot of missed opportunities.
A lot of
Yeah.
side quests just end too early. Like,
The Silver Shroud has a really good arc.
it
Yeah,
does. 'Cause
yeah, it
and
does.
plus, then the Silver Shroud is really good because once you do that, oh no, that's what never mind. I was thinking you could get the best armor, but that's not true. It's through the
Railway.
the railway that you get the best armor, which is
Railroad.
bulletproof weave, where you just like literally
Ballistic weave, yeah.
ballistic weave. Yeah, where you turn a tuxedo and a hat into armor that's worth 120 armor each.
Yep.
Oh shit.
It's the best armor in the game.
Yep, by miles, even. And my favorite part about
Even the Far Harbor armor doesn't really come. Maybe the body aspects of it, but not, and never the helmet.
never. My favorite thing about like finishing the Silver Shroud side quest is when you're grabbing the suit for the first time, you can get Grognak's get up for.
Oh,
yeah,
yup,
you can.
yup,
I love
yup.
that.
I also love you can get Silver Shroud's fucking gun.
Yeah, you can.
He
The
has a
silver gun,
Tommy gun.
and you can get it like
Yeah.
upgraded and stuff too.
It sucks that it's not as good as the spray and pray.
Yep.
By the way, the spray and pray is such a weird gun because I've heard so many people say it's so good just for the ability it has. It's good after you do commando and explosive expert, and that's it. Because before then, it is a very minimally average gun.
I think my favorite gun that I was always using was the in Far Harbor, the lever action.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's just like you ditch the scope and just iron scope it.
What about you, Austin?
The best gun.
Or your favorite gun? Not the best.
My favorite
necessarily.
gun was just a gun I found that had healing. It
Oh,
was a shotgun, and I just fucking modded the shit out of it. So you just open fire and. Oh no! It was the shotgun with bleed, where the bleed would just stack
oh,
like
you found
crazy.
that?
I found a
Those are
shotgun
rare.
with bleed. It's fucking ridiculous. You just walk up to someone, doom, all of a sudden you go, you shoot them once, you shoot them like 3 or 4 times, all of a sudden their health will just like without shooting them, will just go.
Right.
Strongest enemies just
Just fades away.
it's just like nice.
My favorite thing about that game is that you can get random effects on guns. So if you found a combat shotgun with Furious on it, where every hit does double damage.
Also, we should wrap
It's
this up in like about
amazing.
5 minutes. We probably won't do an Am I the
Yeah, no,
Asshole
I
thread
don't
just because
want
it's
to.
late at night and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
And we've had a good conversation
So-
about video games we really enjoy.
Yeah.
A lot of number 4s.
Yeah. I think Fallout 4 is because you mentioned, do you think 4s are just the weirdest batch of video games?
It's like Halo 4, Gears 4,
I was gonna say
Assassin's
God
Creed
of
4.
God of War 4 for that was okay. God of War 4, if you want to get technical, is the PS4 one.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
But
Because
If
then
you-
if you wanted to consider 4 out of the series, you'd consider Vegas.
Yeah,
But-
you would.
Yeah. 'Cause
Wait.
Vegas is the fourth
Well,
game in the series.
unless-
technically.
of God of War,
No, he's talking about Vegas.
Fallout. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
reiterating
Sorry.
your logic with.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
but
that was
then
really confusing.
For mine, then it would be ODST, which is not that. It would be ODST.
But if you count the main parts of the series,
Yeah, it's always the fourth one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, God of War was different because they completely rebooted it essentially, and they had a really strong team behind them.
they had a really good team. By the way, that team that did God of War 2 had a ceremony where they killed a goat in front of a bunch of people and drained its blood for the release of God of War 2.
Fucking crazy, dude.
I'm not even kidding.
That's kind of fucked.
Even funnier is if you want to count the 4th God of War game that's actually God of War, it's Chains of Olympus, which
What?
actually had a good story. Even though it was a PSP game, it's about how Kratos had a
PSP was a good console. It just couldn't stand up to the DS.
No,
It
it
really
really couldn't. It couldn't compete.
it was a story about how Kratos had a brother who was also in Athens when it got hit by a fucking Ares, and he was just like, "Bro, what the fuck?"
Right.
And he was like, He's like, I'm a god now, and he's like, oh, that's my brother. Hey, cool.
I gotta kill him now.
And he
You
was
must die.
He's God.
there's a lot of really cool stuff in that. I also think that Fallout 4 needed a good ending, and it just didn't get it.
Yeah, I felt like everything would have been okay if there was a justifiable ending. And I didn't like the teleportation stuff, but that's neither here nor there.
Really?
It had
I
to
can't
happen.
stand it. I thought it was stupid as shit. I came back to the game and they're like, teleportation. And literally I put it down for a while. I'm like, it's good. And I came back to it. I'm like, okay, let's play it again. Like a few years later, I'm like, I just put this down because I got busy and just wasn't interested. Now I'm interested again. I got to teleport apart and I put it down again for another year or two. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Why?
I just thought it was stupid. I don't know. I felt like it was outlandish for a Fallout game.
For a Fallout game, no. For that Fallout game, yes.
Well,
Have
even then,
teleporting?
it's like, yeah, there's aliens and things. That's to be anticipated. But there's something weird about the idea of like, they have teleporters. That's how. It's like, what?
And it was on the classical station, is how they teleported.
Yeah.
It was very shoehorned in, I guess. Yeah.
Because they were like, you can't enter the institution any other way. Then if you play the Minuteman version, you literally walk in through the sewers. And it's like, there was actually a way in just through the sewers. Guys, what do you mean?
Oh, through the Minutemen. Okay.
No.
Yeah, you literally walk in.
For the
Minutemen, yeah.
railway, you
um,
hijacked
You
the
have
Brotherhoods.
to teleport in to where the sewers end. Or begin.
What, the Minutemen?
Yeah, because you can build
For
the
the
stuff.
Institute?
Because yeah, if you
If you
do
build it with the Minutemen, you just teleport into the teleporter room.
No, who is it that you have to go through the sewers then?
It's probably the railroad.
It might be the rail, but
It
the
has to be
railroad
railroad.
you hijack the Brotherhood shit because they build it and then you hijack theirs.
I was gonna
Then
say,
who's the one that goes to the sewers?
It
I don't
might
think
be
there is one that
No,
goes
there's totally one that goes to the sewers because it cuts out a little bit of the because you still have to go through the whole thing, but you just go in through a different angle.
And
Weird.
Because if you do the Brotherhood of Steel, you start from the top, working your way down. There's one where you start at the bottom and you work your way.
That's the Minutemen.
then it
Okay,
has to
then
be the
that has to be it.
Minutemen.
Then maybe I'm just misremembering where you teleport in because you don't teleport in at the top.
Maybe the railway, but I don't know.
No,
I know
because
the railway, you start off with that like area, you go into the elevator and go up.
Yeah, I think it's both the same. With Railroad and Brotherhood, you go to
Yeah.
the same destination.
Maybe you can just accidentally wander in. I don't know.
You
But
can actually. It's weird because there is a sewer entrance to the institute, but it's not like directly into there. It's through their sewage system.
also, I think it's time to wrap up. We
Also
talked a lot,
right.
an hour and a half. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I think it's time.
I am getting sleepy pee.
I could tell about half an hour ago because Sam was talking, and then all of a sudden there's a point where Sam stopped, and I'm like, I get it. I
Yeah.
understand, dude. It's getting late.
I think Fallout's a fantastic series. 4 is not a bad game at all.
Yeah.
It's just not as good of a Fallout game.
And Dead Rising 4 dropped the ball hard.
And game design, dude.
Hard,
Hard fucking
Alright.
drop.
See you later. Bye.
Big,
Bye.
big stinky in my pants.
Your big pantaloons.